In this video, we'll understand 4 core concepts of security governance: policy, standard, procedure, and guideline. These concepts are extremely important for certifications like CISM, and more importantly, for how security actually works in organizations. Let's start with why these 4 layers matter. First, they act as a governance tool. They help organize security responsibilities across the organization. Second, they enable clear communication. Everyone, from management to operations, knows what is expected of them. Third, they form a compliance framework. Policies and standards help meet regulatory, legal, and business requirements. And finally, security never operates in a perfect world. Security managers must work within resource constraints like limited budgets, existing systems, organizational culture, and resistance to change. 4 layers of security governance. The easiest way to understand these concepts is to think of them as a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid are policies, high-level direction. Below that are standards, metrics and boundaries. Then come procedures, step-by-step operations. And at the base are guidelines, helpful advice. As we go down the pyramid, things become more detailed and more operational. Each layer also has clear ownership. Policies focus on direction and intent and are owned by governance and senior management. Standards define mandatory rules and limits and are owned by management. Procedures explain step-by-step actions and are owned by operations. Guidelines provide recommendations and are also owned by operations. This ownership clarity is critical for governance and accountability. Policies. So, what exactly is a policy? A policy is a high-level statement of management intent, expectations, and direction. For example, an access control policy might say, all organizational information assets shall be protected from unauthorized access, disclosure, modification, or destruction. Policies are like the constitution of security. They set the foundation but don't explain how things are done. In mature organizations, policies are stable over time and are always aligned with the organization's overall security and business strategy. Next comes standards. A standard defines the specific rules, limits, or metrics used to determine whether a policy is being met. For example, a password standard may require at least 8 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. Password changes every 90 days. No reuse of the last 5 passwords. Encryption during storage and transmission. Standards are more detailed than policies. Still mandatory. Expected to evolve as technology and risks change. You can also have multiple standards under one policy, depending on security levels or domains. Now let's talk about procedures. A procedure provides clear, step-by-step instructions to complete a task. For example, a password reset procedure might include 1. User contacts help desk. 2. Identity is verified. 3. Temporary password is generated. 4. User changes it on first login. Procedures must be unambiguous. Very precise in wording. Words matter here. Must/shall means mandatory. Should means recommended. May/can means optional. Procedures also include expected outcomes and what to do if something goes wrong. Finally, we have guidelines. Guidelines provide helpful advice to support procedures. They may include examples, clarifications, best practices, background information, or tools. Unlike the other layers, guidelines are not mandatory. They are flexible and advisory, designed to help people do things correctly and confidently. Think of guidelines as coaching, not rules. Resource constraints in security governance. One critical reality in security governance is resource constraint. Security managers must constantly evaluate what budget is available. What is the organizational culture? Can existing systems support new controls? How much resistance to change exists? A key takeaway here is this. Perfect policies mean very little if the organization lacks the resources or willingness to implement them. Security strategy must always be practical and realistic. Let's quickly recap using the pyramid we saw earlier. At the top, policies define what management wants. Below that, standards define minimum rules. Then, procedures define how tasks are performed. And at the base, guidelines offer helpful advice. Together, these four layers create a strong, practical, and scalable security governance framework.